Right, we are live. Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to the Kiwi Lads channel. We are back for another match of the international rugby circuit. This one, England taking on the Japanese. It is the second last international game of November. The last one taking place next week between Ireland and Australia. But jumping straight into it, England, they haven't had the best tour so far. 3 losses on the trot. They're actually up to 5 in a row now, but they want to change that here. Get themselves a win up against Japan, and they come in as heavy favourites to do so. So whether or not this team can get it done, we will soon know. Alice Genge, Jamie George, and Will Stewart will be the front row with Maro Itoje and George Martin in the locking duo. Then Tom Curry, Sam Underhill, and Ben Earl to make up the loose forward trio. Jack Van Porfley at the starting 9 with Marcus Smith at 10. Now this combination is one that they used last week. They were decent at times, but I feel like for England, something still isn't quite clicking. And I feel like that's proven from their last 3 games, that maybe just that will to win in the final moments hasn't quite kicked in for some of these English players. Henry Slade, Ollie Lawrence, they are there as the 12 and the 13. Then Ollie Slate-Home out on one wing, Tommy Freeman out on the other, and George Furbank returns at number 15. So straight away from seeing that change, I would say that they're expecting a lot less of a kicking game from the Japanese than they were expecting up against the South Africans, and also just trying to shore up that defense that little bit more as there were tries leaking in last week's game. Okabe in the front row alongside Harada and Takeuchi will make up the front row for the Japanese. Wanga and Ulivetti as the 2 in the locking duo. Then Shimokawa, Kazuki Himeno, of course, ex-Highlanders player, now finds himself playing in Japan, and Makesi as the number 8. Naito Saito as the 9 with Nicholas McCurran getting the start at 10. Fafita and Riley in the midfield. Naikabula out on one wing. Osada out on the other. And then it has Matsunanga as the number 15. So, pretty much, Japan are the biggest underdog of the weekend. This is either going to be one of the biggest upsets of the November internationals, or it is going to go exactly how people anticipate. And just talking about this game very briefly, in terms of the odds and in terms of what they make out for how this match is going to go, the line in terms of the betting odds is minus 33.5, which means that an English win by around 34 points is what people are expecting. Is it possible that both sides could lose, like a 0-0 draw? Well, in that case, it would just be the draw. But then I guess if you had a 0-0 game, you probably would consider that as a bit of a loss, seeing as you haven't been able to score any points. But theoretically, in the history books, it would still go down as a draw, just not a very exciting one. What time does this game start? It is starting in 10 minutes time, so we aren't too far away from the kickoff of this match. England by 20 plus, if not Borthwick out by the end of the year. England 53, Japan 18. Normally I cheer for Japan, but Eddie Jones says Yvonne. Hello again, Hamish. Please, will you let us know how the weather is at Twickenham? It's raining and windy here in the West Midlands still, mate. Yeah, the weather has been pretty brutal up north for this round of the November internationals. We've seen games that have had snow the day before. We've seen howling winds, heavy rainfall. At the moment, we've got an ad for a ute here in New Zealand. So once they do, of course, kick it up and we do get to see the weather, we will let you know. England rake up the cricket score. Eddie Jones all out for 100 and very upset with the AB's performance, says Manny M. And Scotland versus Australia, who won. What is the score, says Morne. So I am about to give a spoiler. So anyone who hasn't watched that game already, be sure to block your ears and close your eyes. But Scotland were able to win that game at 27 points to 13. So a 14-point victory. Definitely not the best performance we've seen from the Australians. Scotland first half a little bit shaky, still going on to get themselves that 14-point win. Last 0-0 in Tier 1, Hamish. Honestly, I can't even remember when it's taken place. The last time that two sides have scored less than 10 points even is pretty hard to remember. Low-scoring game. The weather will make it unplayable. Says Stephen, at only 29 points. It was rubbish by the ABs. An afternoon, Hamish. Just put a beer in the fridge to cool it quickly. How can that go wrong? Says SWR. Just make sure that it doesn't freeze. We were talking about that on the last live stream. Exploding alcohol and whatnot. So yeah, just be wary. Remember that you've put it in there, even if you set an alarm for like 2 hours time to make sure that it doesn't fully go there. If that was the score, you'd get the highest odds in history. Says Neville. Well, yeah, in these type of games as well, like when you look at the anytime try scorer, if you back first try scorer as no try scorer in this game, it's 1,000 to 1 odds. Or $1,001 to 1 odds. So Yeah. If that was to happen, I would be extremely surprised. In terms of the first try scorer, they are thinking Slate-Home or Freeman are going to have their best chance of being able to cross. Japan suck, not even going to watch it, just going to listen. Says at 9 HD. And also we're going to expect the ABs to put 70 past Italy and Japan 22, England 27. That would be actually a really respectable score for the Japanese here. Plus England, I mean, they'd be a little bit disappointed, but every once in a while, Japan pull off a really good game. We're just not sure if it's going to be this one off the bench for the English. They have decided to go with Chandler Cunningham himself coming off the reserves rather than starting. Luke Cow and Dickey there as well. And then Ezekwe at number 19. Some quick speedsters in the back line, Randall, Smith and Roebuck. And then for the Japanese, Tatafu at 20. I think he could be a bit of a game changer. Fujiwara as well, normally consistent when he makes his way onto the field. But for the English so far, they lost by 2, they lost by 5, and they lost by 9. Theoretically, though, if the trend continues, that would mean that they would have to lose up against the Japanese by about 15 or so, which I just don't see happening. Even Japan winning by 1 would be a massive upset. But overall, England, they could have won that game up against the All Blacks. And they could have won that game up against the Wallabies. That game up against South Africa, not so much. I don't think they were really completely in control. Definitely not in that second half. But it's been a trend for a while at the moment for this English side in terms of not quite being able to finish a job. And the last time that they got themselves a win was actually up against the Japanese. That was in June. That was the last win that England have had since then. 5 losses, 3 of which at the hands of the All Blacks, all separated by less than 7 points. Whereas for the Japanese, they have had a big loss to New Zealand, a big loss to the French, and then up against the Uruguayans last week, Japan able to get themselves the win, 36 points to 20. But the temperature is 16 degrees Celsius. There is rain at the moment at Twickenham and also about a 25 mile per hour wind, which means that if that ball ends up getting anywhere in regards of up high, it's going to swirl, it's going to make it awkward, which could lead to some relatively entertaining moments. My money is on Gary as the first try scorer. Says Stephen, I'm a fan of England. I hope we lose so Steve Borthwick gets the boot. So who would you want instead, Bim Jim? If you weren't to have Borthwick, who's your next guy that you want to sign? Because, of course, there's not too many international coaches floating around. You can have Ian Foster if you want him. I think the All Blacks wouldn't mind him at the moment as well. The same as us versus Wales. Says, good story, bro. And Aussie cricket this morning was sad. And now this. Says Adam, yeah, the Aussies, they're going to need a big one to come back. The night watchman, Pat Cummins, goes out. Then Labuschagne not too far after. The end of the day, about 3 for 12, I think they were. Chasing over 500. What are your thoughts on the AB's game versus Italy? I think New Zealand were a bit lackluster. And I think that once again, the selection was wrong. They should have been giving those young guys the opportunity. It's as if he doesn't trust anyone but his best team. And the thing is, the best team haven't been putting the same results on that his secondary team normally do because there's more hunger in that second side. You know, the likes of Peter Lakai and all those young guys who want to go out there and just put on a show and really ramp it up to the next level. Wallace Satiti, he's the perfect example of if you take a guy from Super Rugby who's in form and give him minutes, he can really ramp it up. England fans going to really see how bad things get if Borthwick leaves. CS 9HD. Ray's has started to get his act together and has to start getting his act together in 2025. And Gatland for England. Says Stephen. I don't know if Warren Gatland would want that job though. Because it's one of those ones that Gatland, I think, would get more stick from the English media than he does the Welsh media. Like, at the moment, Borthwick, 5 losses in a row is something not many England coaches do experience. But at the moment, it's just their reality that sadly they just haven't been able to find a win. So this game up against Japan, like, it is the one that they have to make sure they get right. England must bring Eddie Jones. If England lose today against Eddie Jones's team, says Morne Lagrange. Yeah, honestly, with the off-field stuff aside, Eddie Jones wasn't as bad as some people made out. Like, but once again, there's more sides to it than just going out there on the field and winning games. There's also the backstage side of things of, like, the basson or the antics, I guess you could say. I want to see the ABs to blend in more youngsters in 2025, says Manny M. The Japanese side, compared to England, they do look a little bit small, I'll be honest, but in terms of their scrum, it's actually something that they've been doing extremely well lately, Japan. They weren't forced backwards by New Zealand throughout that game up until the last 15 to 20 minutes. England by 15, says Ben Johns. Plummer Curry, new fly half, the Royal dude, says Ruth. And we have got there the ABs need Tony Brown, says Manny M. See, Tony Brown's a little bit unfortunate in some regards as well, because anytime South Africa don't score a whole heap of tries, he gets the full brunt of the blame. And even when they win games, he still is getting a huge amount of stick. So I'm glad that some of that has died down now, since they're starting to get a few more wins. But, you know, he's actually a relatively, he'll be a popular man in terms of international rugby if he was ever to move from South Africa. Gatland does no one read CVs anymore. Says Adam. England fans super impatient. It's not like their team is horrible. They're easily a top 4, top 3 team. Says 9HD, but if they lose this game, they will drop to, I believe it's 9th in the rankings for the end of the year, which is certainly not something that they do want to see. But up against some sides in the Six Nations, you know, they have got a great side. Like, looking through at their Six Nations draw, just while we've got the national anthem of the Japanese, we will go here, Six Nations 2025. I think they've got a couple big games at home that they're going to be able to try and sink themselves really into. Oh, it's trying to get me to book for a game experience. I would rather not. I'd just like to look at the... One moment, we'll go there, like that. There we go. What have we got? We got Italy, Ireland in the first round. And that's the only game that they've got there. Surely there's more than just that one, isn't there? There we go. Right. So England, I've got a way up against Ireland. That's going to be brutal. England at home up against the French. They have to win that game. That is pretty much the big one for them. They've got Scotland at home, so that's a bonus. And then they've got Italy at home as well, and then Wales away. So honestly, not a bad draw. With the exception of that first game up against the Irish at the Aviva, that'd be all right. Night seems about right, says Stephen. Then you'd be able to talk all about it, Stephen. And you'd be able to say, yes, all my rage towards the English finally gets backed up by their rating. Did you see Eddie Jones in the stands? I did, seeing as he is the coach of the Japanese. Hi, Hamish. Thank you for all your commentary, says Sue Walsh. Thank you very much for being here, Sue. That is greatly appreciated. Media are parasites. It's up to WRU and get Warren. For me, I hope he stays. The problem that's not live with him. Rassie could not turn Welsh fortunes around. Fact. Yeah, that's the thing. There's a bigger issue than the coach at the moment for Wales. Hi, see Craig Wilson. Welcome in, mate. Hope we are keeping well. I actually kind of know a Craig Wilson. I don't know whether or not you're the same one. You said hello again. And Six Nations is never easy, says Ben Johns. And also we've got there, I remember last millennium. English Bulldogs can maul the Japanese here, 70 points to 25. And isn't that the scrum half? Who's your big scrummer for the English, Hamish? Or Hamish? Earl, is that... who's your big scrummer? I mean, in this game, well, Alice Genge is normally all right, but at times he does get penalised out of a game as well. So, honestly, for the Japanese front row, they're normally pretty solid. And I don't see this game being any different. Okabe, Lee. Oh, actually, there's a change at hooker. I see Harada no longer there, and it's going to be Lee instead, and Takauchi still takes on the 3. Do you know when the Rugby Awards will take place? I honestly don't. I know that it's soon, but I'm not actually sure of when it is happening. I grew up with a Scottish mother and a Zulu housekeeper. My childhood was curious, confusing, and hilarious. Says Robert, I got England with a minus 39.5. Says Philip. But yeah, I know that the Rugby Awards, I think, are in the very near future. But then saying that, I'm not actually sure where they're being hosted. In fact, that's what we're going to look up now just before the kickoff. We'll go World Rugby Awards 2024 time. World Rugby Awards are not going to be streamed live on TV. I do see, bro, still looking tidy on day 3. We are counting down to your birthday, says Adam. Monaco, says Yvonne. So it won't be broadcast on live TV by the sounds of it. We got a date that it's going to be taking place. Doesn't look like it. But they know it's not going to be streamed, apparently. So that's interesting. 25-7 for the English. Eddie Jones' eyes. Looks serious. Don't take me serious, says Blues Nate. It's on my third coffee. Got to keep awake, but now kicked off by the English wearing their red for this game, and it's going to be possibly knocked on or at least knocked back by Japan anyway, Tuesday, says Yvonne. So is that Tuesday, like, Irish time? If that's the case, then I guess that would be Wednesday for us here in New Zealand. Next Saturday, I think, says Adam. Ireland Hamish, the All Blacks beat Italy yesterday night with 29-11, says Bradley. Currently in possession, it is Japan. Shimokawa hits it up. Y'all are doing all right there, Ruth. And Monaco's Sunday today. So it's Sunday in Monaco at the moment, but it's happening on Tuesday. And that's going to be the penalty early on, going the way of Japan. England going to make roast beef out of Japan, says Manny M. Is it Wagyu beef? Because that's been known to be quite nice, from what I've heard. Red in English, that's dangerous. Or English and red, sorry. Do you sleep during the day? Sometimes I have to. Like, oh, that's mistouch from the Japanese. An early mistake being made. Now kicked him behind. Looks like it's going to sit up in the in-goal area and just goes dead. And then the player gets pushed over as well. A little bit of afters from Ollie Slate home. And my friend is at the match, says Tilly. So hopefully she is, or he, is enjoying it. So you're telling me Eddie Jones is not nervous, says Morley Lagrange. Polls, says Craig. You're just pushing Saito over. This must be the ugliest England jersey ever. It's almost like a maroon, isn't it? In terms of the colour of it. Kind of looks like the colour of what you'd see for your grandma's curtains. You know, when you go around to an old school house. It's kind of like that kind of colour. This might be the ugliest. Oh no, I read that one. I'm aware. Suckerbulla, says Adam. In fact, I think our curtains used to be that colour. Or the drapes, as some people call them. I'm happy when I'm watching Kiwi Lads, says Ruth. 2022 was the ugliest jersey. Can you show us the match? Sadly, due to licensing, any match footage or audio would get us taken straight off YouTube. We will be doing our best to give you the play-by-play commentary throughout the game currently. It is an English scrum. We are just waiting for it to sit down. Big smile on the face of Alice Genge as he goes into the scrum up against Takeuchi. Looks similar to the Southland Stags, says Reflexier. Yeah, almost Georgia, I would say, is the biggest comparison I can make in terms of that colour. That kind of purplish red. It's a better colour than the white one, says Fleshin. Yeah, over the old sofa, says Adam. Now, Saito goes across to Lee. Got to start this game. It's going to be the advantage against Ben Earl for not rolling away quick enough. Now McCurran goes with the flat ball. We don't normally see him as a 10. Normally in that centre pairing. I'm going to miss your company at the end of these internationals, says Robert. We are still going to be here on the channel, though. Like next weekend, we've got the, hopefully, international match between Ireland and Australia. Partnering that, we are going to be doing some of the URC. We've got the Sevens. The week after that, the Sevens and the Champions Cup. So we are still going to be on the channel. It's just not for international rugby, just other competitions that are taking place around the world. So like each weekend, we're still planning on doing at least a couple, if not more, live streams. Magenta says, cool story, bro. And England is going to get their try in 4 minutes into this game, says Jared. Although now Japan will have the first opportunity to add points on the board. I'm always bringing up the grandmas. Hello, Grant. How are you? 50 Shades of Grey and Purple, says Ruth. Yeah, I love that colour mixed with grey. Predicted kicking success here is 72% for Naito Saito, who will be in charge of the tee for today. Just taking his time. Line up this kick, and he's missed it. Away to the left-hand side, and that will be an unsuccessful one for the first one of the day. Jack Van Poorvliet will now send it downfield, but doesn't manage to find touch. England to run in these tries soon. Says Roof, or a big carry forward from McKessie, flattens out Jack Van Poorvliet, who scrambles back. Looks like he's got a bit of a limp at the moment. It might be that knee that is already heavily strapped, but he does not look flash. He's kind of jumping around a little bit. This might be the end of Jack Van Poorvliet, even though we're only 5 minutes into the game. Now nice passing. England in possession with Ben Earl on the halfway. Like they've said, he's going to struggle to get to the position for Jack Van Poortvliet. Fingers crossed the Japanese create history like they did against South Africa, says Pluma. A little bit of a counter-up coming from Japan. And one thing that they do very well early on, the Japanese, is stay physical in a game. And that is their only chance of winning this contest, if they can really push England and make them uncomfortable for the first 20 minutes or so. Jack Van Poortvliet now going to try out a kick. It looks like he's going to be all right. Might have just taken a bit of a knock to the knee. Still trying to shake it out a little bit. The last thing that England want to do is make their sub this early on. Look like a knock-on from Jamie George, but it's going to be play on. Ball was loose. Olivetti now breaking the line, looking for his offload. Tom Curry hasn't got that one. Japan back in possession. Little chipping behind from Dylan Riley. Trying the cross kick downfield from Nakabula, but it goes into touch. Oh, why is the the Rugby World anti-England? Says Neil. Honestly, I'm not sure where it all stemmed from, but it does seem to be like most people say anyone but England for a win. But, I enjoy watching this English side play. I feel like they've got a lot of potential at the moment. Quite a few young players. I missed last night, Springboks and Wales, but apparently it was not that exciting. And made Japan do something good here, says Netta. Yeah, honestly, we haven't had too many close games throughout the weekend. Like the closest one so far was almost Scotland versus Australia with a 14-point difference. Hope Eddie's got a surprise up his sleeve, says Charmaine and Carl. And Marcus will unlock Japan. Yeah, we haven't actually seen Marcus Smith actually touch the ball yet, I don't think. It's not just rugby. 800 years of oppression, friend, says Yvonne. Jack Van Poortvliet. Looks like he does want to continue in this game. It wasn't lovely, but it was a win, says Adam. Harry Randall. Seems a little bit early for him to be making his way onto the field here, but he's not going to be needed as of yet. Martin Johnson. Says Ruth. Now trying to get a rolling ball going here. It's going to be relatively successful for the English. They've made about 15 metres in the process. Now Jack Van Poortvliet goes back across to Ellis Genge. Being told to use it there for Van Poortvliet again. And does kick it high. Is there a delay with YouTube in your game? It seems 10 seconds behind the game I'm watching. Says Raffle Sear. Yeah, I am watching on Sky Sport now, but I am thinking about switching over to the TAB when we do get a little bit of a decent gap, because that way we will be about 40 seconds ahead of the Sky coverage. Rugby is a sport based on tradition, and tradition dictates we don't like the English for whatever reason, says Fleshin. I'm not anti-England. Johnny Wilkinson, a legend. A goal swing kick style was iconic, says Bloomer. Now Nicholas McCurran gets through 2 tackle attempts, but is dragged down by Jamie George. And behind Takeuchi. Told to release. Someone asking for a penalty, I think, from the sounds of that. They will not get it. Now rolling it back again. Naito Saito. Harry Lordy, another Harry Potter. Let's get magical. It was rugby at the end of the tour. Just finishing what we started, says Adam. Now Jack Van Poortvliet goes across to the left. Looked like maybe Olivetti got himself slightly offside. Good kick in behind towards the touchline. Sits up there. Passes across to McCurran, who does a nice step. And well protected here from Japan. England trying to use some physicality, but won't get through for the counter ruck. Johnny Wilkinson, another great, says Ruth. Got to back England. Anyone beating England is good in my book. The sooner he gets fired, the better, says Andy. And everyone on the planet has a valid reason to hate England, says Grant. That one's gone into touch from Japan. 8 minutes into this game. Still seems like both sides starting to find their rhythm. England will win, says Sabongile. Maro Itoje already taking some deep breaths as well. Great at drop goals, says Rafflesia. Jamie George. 25 out. And a line out to come. They will go to the back to Amado Itoje. And that looks like the ball has gone just a little bit further back for them in that rolling ball. But now, using their back line, Marcus Smith with the short ball to Ollie Lawrence. They've got the advantage as well, but it won't matter because Ben Oil scores between the sticks, gives the thumbs up. And 9 minutes in, England are on the board. So what we will quickly do is we will switch over to the other coverage, which hopefully will be about 30 seconds ahead of that one. There we go. We'll click that. And we are good. We've managed to kick in, but just showing that flat ball from Marcus Smith sends Ollie Lawrence through a gap. Just put him in the perfect spot to be able to run it in and try between the sticks. We have got there bad for everyone who gets injured just before the Christmas break. Shame. Says Ruth. And also we have got there, so not a 0-all draw, not a 0-all draw for this one, with the first strike coming for the English. And also the conversion was good, so it does make it 7-0 for England. All right, we will go like this. We will go like that as well. It is going to be the line out now for Japan on the halfway line. Got the coverage back. Did hide for a second, but it's thrown into the back, overcooked. And now cleaned up by Tom Curry, who goes away to the right-hand side. Lawrence gets it there to Slade at a bit of a juggle, but now gets it to Furbank, who will put the grubber in behind. Cleaned up by Japan at the back, but a lot of scrambling here coming from the English. And get in, says Matt Day. I'm currently watching Stan Sport for free, says Rafflesia. Japan being told to use it. Now big run coming forward from Wanga. Marcus Smith seems to have a quality tour with most of these games playing well, says Plumer. I start laughing at a Welsh pundit I heard yesterday. He said, it's a fine line in rugby, it's called the equator, says Robert. Only 4 likes so far, says I've heard. Anyone who hasn't already, of course, be sure to hit that like button. Also subscribe to the channel. We've got plenty more rugby coming up. Even though the international window is almost over, we're covering the Six Nations on the channel. We've got the Sevens coming up next week. We've got the URC all taking place on the channel as well. I'm sleep watching the Kiwi lads. I'm waiting for Eddie Jones' left eye start looking like The Rock. Yeah, he does a bit of the eyebrow, doesn't he, old Eddie Jones? When he gets fired up now, nice step from Ollie Lawrence. 20 metres out. Jack Van Porfliet gets it across to George Martin. Rush defence from Ulaviti. Shuts that down pretty quick. Now nice step from Van Porfliet. Gets the ball back. Might have been a knock-on in the transfer of the ball. But England only a couple metres out from the line now. Lawrence, it's stolen by Japan, but they'll go back for the penalty. Doesn't look like a mismatch, South Africa and its power outages, says Neville. Off to a galloping start here. Curry, Slade, Lawrence, Earl. Bloody good show, says Ruth. Yeah, already 13 minutes through this game. Okay, offside, Jamie George saying, is it a try-scoring opportunity? Hoping that they'll just gift them a try. Do it yourself, Jamie. 5 metres out from the line, they will now have the rolling maul. And it's not like England can't score from here. And in fact, if he scores, or if England score, it will more than likely be him. So surely that's what they want, is it not? Hamish, I'm disappointed in you. Not calling Ollie, or you have not called Ollie Norris in a while. I've done very well, haven't I? At the start, though, it was absolutely awful how often I confused the two. And the thing is, they look completely different as well. It's just, I don't know why, but the name Ollie meant that I was saying the wrong guy. Who's Ollie Shaw? That's another guy. I don't know who that is, but I can't remember if he's a rugby player or a cricketer. And there's another Ollie Pope in the cricket. Lucky we haven't added that. That's going to be the try now, though, for England. They had the advantage. Sam Underhill crashes over. And England have another, although Underhill looks like he might have done himself a little bit of damage here from being able to score that one. A little bit slow getting back up to his feet. Another one coming, Jamie George. Here's more of a Takeshi. I've never seen the Scottish team. Is that goated? I never knew the Scottish team is that goated, I should say. Mark Cowboy Shaw, famous All Black. And I'd say he's going to be a legend scrum half, Jamie George. Says Ruth, and big loves for our big brother in the north, says a Blues Nate. Ollie is too English for a name. Yeah, Underhill is still sitting down pretty much where he scored that try. Not ideal for him here. Marcus Smith to line up this kick. Japan are already $51 underdogs. Try time England, says Jared. The kick is good, and that now makes the score 14 points to 0. In favour of England. They have scored twice so far, number 7 and number 8. So that only leaves us with Tom Curry to score again. Oh, tell you what, he's almost knocked that on, Sam Underhill, just in the replay there. Oh, in fact, you could argue that he almost did. G'day from the gym, says Darren. Hopefully the gym is going well. What time is it where you are, Darren? I assume you're Northern Hemisphere based or South African. Or else it's currently 5:30 a.m. here in New Zealand, which I don't think... Well, some people go to the gym that early, don't they? Since it's quiet. We're the biggest nine in the world ever saw. Says Adam. What do you remember from 1999? Nothing. I was born. That's about it. Like, I don't remember being born, though. That would be a bit weird to remember that, wouldn't it? Was it Ollie or and Oliver and Hardy? Says Bruce. At 5:30 p.m. here in Spain, says Darren. Okay, so, yeah, decent time to hit the gym. I haven't hit the gym in a very long time. But then our gym almost burnt down, so that's why. Or at least that's the reason I'll go with. And Curry and Rice watch the space, says Ruth. And England are always playing Japan. Do they get some, have some kind of treaty? I mean, New Zealand played Japan quite a bit too. It seems to be the mutual, like, agreement between the two sides. Marcus Smith has a weird kicking technique. Currently England, they are in possession with the advantage yet again. Marcus Smith. The inside ball. Curry passes across his backline once again, looking good for England. Rush defence on Lawrence from Nakabula. Doesn't work out. Gets another offload to Martin. I'm relaxing on my bed. Duvet, coffee and Stacks enjoying. Says Ruth. Now gone short side. Kicked him behind from Tommy Freeman. And it just bounces out. Chest and shoulders today, says Darren. And also we have got the... did Hamish burn down his local gym? I did not know. No, it's something in the vents, I think, that caused it to slightly have a fire. Well, I don't even know if it had a... No, I think it had a fire. A nice says Bloomer. Predicted Scotland to win in the polls. Says Bruce. Yeah, so far every favourite, in terms of the big games that we've covered, has won. So England were the heavy favourites going into this game, and with the score being 14-0 after 17 minutes, we know exactly why. How would you rate Scotland now as a team? They're getting better. They are making some good leaps and bounds in the right direction. Hopefully they can just back it up with a good Six Nations, though. Your gym nearly burnt down. So many questions, says Adam. And we have got there, nice. Hamish was born in the greatest millennium, or was born in the greatest millennium the world has ever known. I love this lad, says Adam. Oh, Chandler cutting himself already on the field. That is for Sam Underhill, who did injure himself in the process of scoring. Predicted Scotland to win the polls. Looks like I'll be correct with England too, says Bruce. Well, to be fair, England were the biggest favourite of the weekend, so they should win. But Japanese side, every once in a while, they have some decent work. I think got away with one there. There wasn't a try. Timo missed the ball separation with the hand, says Darren. Oh, we got two Darrens, two different Darrens. Darren meet Darren, Darren meet Darren. Hope you guys both bond. Do you guys ever find that you get along with people with the same name, or does it get, like, awkward because you don't know who's getting yelled at? Yeah, Adam Hamish makes our day. England score of 80, 1 point per minute. Says Neville, and the ball is loose. So we'll go back for the English knock on. And g'day, Ola Darren, says Darren. This could be fun. Yeah, just a knock on the ground from Ollie Lawrence. Now scrum feed. We will get to see this Japanese scrum, which has actually pushed opposition back before. We saw it up against the All Blacks XV. We did make a mistake in Brighton as South Africans, says Adam. And Rory Underwood, or what was that great English player, Underwood, says Ruth. So there's much discussion going on at scrum time between the two front rows in terms of where the feet are stepping and whatnot. In fact, that's probably the most I've seen two front rows talk about a scrum in a very long time. They're still talking as they're sitting. And it's not stable enough. Ollie, Lawrence smashing it, baby, says Ruth. Japan beat us in Brighton, says Adam there. And I'm always startled when someone else has my name, says Gus. There's not too many Hamishes around where I am, so it's not too bad. But I guess depending on how old you are, in terms of people who are about that same age, there's probably quite a few Gusses around, I'd say. Hamish, how would you sum up these autumn internationals in a sentence? There's been some good games, and then there's been some pretty one-sided affairs. Like, we haven't had too many close games. I still think that we got spoiled for the Rugby World Cup in terms of playoff games and whatnot, as well as some of the group stage fixtures. Just because, like, we haven't seen too many games go right down to the wire. Last week was the exception to that rule, but other than that, there's been a lot of one-sided affairs. I've been told to use it now, Naito Saito. Put it back into the pocket for the Japanese. There's not too many people around where you are, Hamish. That is true. So the chances of finding someone with the same name is pretty slim. Fantastic. That's right. Tony and Rory, Underwood brothers. Australia beating England is the only surprise, says Jimbo. Honestly, probably, yeah. And maybe New Zealand beating Ireland by 10. And that's not like a dig at you, Jimbo, because I know, of course, you are an Irish supporter. But like in terms of, I didn't expect New Zealand to win by that margin, But then I don't think anyone expected Ireland to be as rusty as they were for that first game. What are you having for breakfast, Hamish? I honestly don't know. Hopefully something nice, though. Like, in terms of, like, yesterday, I don't know why, but I really wanted chicken drumsticks, so I ended up having them for lunch. And they were all right. But, like, yeah, I don't know, maybe some sort of nice stuff for breakfast. And thanks, Ref Dear. I hope your day is going well, says Gus. Australia beating England is the only surprise. And Hamish was born in the World Cup year. Destiny, I guess. Says, cool story, bro. Gus, hello. Darling, hope you're well. So these games will determine the pools for the next World Cup. Yeah, I'm not too sure when the draw actually takes place, though. And I know that it's also the top 3 sides from each group qualify automatically for the next World Cup. Now, England will be ready to kick this one towards the touchline. There's a tackle off the ball from Japan and also an offside, so just stacking them up at the moment in terms of the penalties. Our first game in 4 months and without Shannon Furlong, so it wasn't a surprise really, says Jimbo. And also it's 6:35 here in Cape Town, winding down after a hot weekend. Rashford scores inside 2 minutes, says Adam. That's for Man United, I think. Maybe. Oh, well, that didn't help, says Adam. It's going to be nicely thrown out. I think the Springboks was the most dominant team this autumn internationals, says Safdien. Yeah, 3 wins from 3. One of 3 sides that have been able to get 3 victories under their belt. Now, that's a good rolling maul for the English. Only just out from the Japanese line, and they are over. And that will make the score now 19 points to 0. I think that time it wasn't. Was it Jamie George? Yes, it was. Does pop out with the ball and agreed, says Cool Story Bro. And yep, says Adam. Then with the exception of the game up against the English, like Scotland, they weren't the greatest. Like, I feel like the Springboks, I really wanted to see them play France or Ireland, just because I feel like that would have been a game that they could really be pushed and tested in. Like, overall, they just never really had anyone. Like, the fact that they were able to make so many changes as well, it was great for testing the depth from Rassi, but I do think, personally, he would have probably wanted a bit more of a challenge. A couple more games, a bit closer. Because in certain games, the Springboks, they didn't play their best, but they still won comfortably. And I feel like that is a sign of a really good side as well. The fact that even if you play badly, you can win. But I feel like they still wanted to get to that next level. Oh, the Super 9, says Adam. And just checked it. Yeah, both the Underwood brothers played tests for the British and Irish Lions in the 90s, says Kernovik. And a hi from Japan. Welcome in. You are doing very well. What is the time in Japan at the moment? Is it around midnight? Somewhere around there, maybe 1 a.m.? Hamish Watson, Scottish Sevens player. Then Hamish Kerr, New Zealand high jumper. You're not alone, says Neville. And then you've also got Hamish Watson's a New Zealand footballer, or at least he did play for the Wellington Phoenix. And you've got Hamish Marshall, who used to be a cricketer. And then I think you've also got another Hamish that I can't remember. Oh, that's going to be knocked on. We'll go back for it. I think a longer tour, Hamish says, Adam, test the squad. Yeah, I would have loved to see them have 5 matches for the tour, just because they have the depth to be able to do so. Like, they have enough players. They've really rotated them well. England are a good side. It must be frustrating for their coach and players to lose to the good teams, says Brian. Well, that's the thing. Like, they're thereabouts, you know. They lost by 5 up against the Aussies, 2 up against New Zealand, and then 9 up against the South Africans. So overall, like, they're only 1 or 2 points or 1 or 2 tries away from being right in a game. England was a good challenge. I bet on England winning over Ireland. So here's 9HD. And I love the varsity and college rugby system in England. They produce great players. Totally agree with you. Would love to see the Springboks play Ireland. Says Safdien. Definitely because it's still 1-1 for the year. Like, everyone wants to see that decider. And I feel like next time we get to see it, it's going to be, like, I guess November, maybe? And yeah, drag us out, says Adam. OMG. An upset, please go Japan, says Johan. Hamish, or the famous Hamish McTavish, the Super Scot. AB's played a pathetic game up against Italy. Yeah, they really struggled up against the Italians. Although, yes, we can say New Zealand played badly, but I also do hope some people say that Italy played well. Like, they actually defended brilliantly throughout that game. Their scramble defense, definitely that one down the wing, Monty Ioane covering. And, like, yes, New Zealand were poor, but Italy, I do think, deserves some credit. Yes, they had a lot of missed tackles as well, but moments in that game, Italy looked like a really good side. That honestly, if they played like that every game with what they were doing right, you know, a top 6, top 7 side in the future. But they have to be consistent, which is the tricky part. And then in the end, the discipline just let them down. All Blacks were poor against Italy. Our backline needs a shake-up at 9 and 10. Are too slow and not deep enough for the attack. Caleb Clark and Will Jordan are the only consistent backline players. Win other rugby awards. Honestly, I don't actually know. We looked it up at the start. All we learnt from it was pretty much that I'm still trying to work out where it is. In fact, we'll do a quick, take place on Sunday, the 24th of November. Wait, that's like now. Will take place on Sunday, the 24th of November in Monaco. They have online voting. So it's today, I guess. It might happen soon, maybe straight after this game. Argentina are incredibly impressive, says Adam. Yeah, it's now, says Joe. How can they not organise a third South Africa Ireland game? Yeah, it's a bit of a shame, really, because, like, there was the hype there. Everyone wanted to see it. England now passing out wide. Maybe getting it in the corner for Freeman. Yeah, it's now. That seems really weird, though, that it would be taking place at the same time as an international rugby game. So I'd assume it would have to be afterwards. But don't they normally have the players there? Whereas Emmanuel Fiuwaboso, if he wasn't injured, he would be playing in this game. And yeah, it's now. And Italians were strong, good tackling and defence. Respect to them, says Ruth. Yeah, I'm not sure about the time of the day that it is taking place for the World Rugby Awards, but interesting. Like, yeah, soon. Either now or in a couple hours' time, maybe, is when it would be taking place. They're just showing the replay of this try, or maybe the lack thereof, for Tommy Freeman. I think he's managed to get it down. Yes, he has. I wish you look more and more like Justin Bieber. I don't see the resemblance, if I'm being honest. I don't see it. Like, they're here, if it was forward, maybe. But then I guess that was only early on in the Justin Bieber era, wasn't it? He might be contracted to his club, says Adam. I think Fiuwabosi, yeah, he did take the head knock as well last week. Or the week prior, actually, which was why he was missing. I've always respected New Zealand. I played Curtin Razor for the ABs versus Border. Oh, hang on. We've got a replay of something else here. I think they found an England knock-on. Although they did wait a wee while. They waited until after he had had the kick attempt. to then look upstairs for it. Commentate the game, says Luan. Well, we've got a stoppage in the game. We're looking at a knock-on at the moment from Jack Van Poorfleet. So it's going to be no try for the English. Yeah, they've just said there it's gone for... Oh, yeah, no, he let that one go. And now Dupont says Blues, Nate. It's not being screened live on TV, which is a shame. It seems weird that they aren't showing the Rugby Awards. So I guess that's why you probably don't need, like, the players there, or at least in certain extents, since you're not going to get, like, a speech from them anyway. Can Japan score? I think they will in this game. That one has been disallowed, though, so England now back to 21 points on the board. Hamish looks like a young Robert Downey Jr. I'll take that every day of the week. You look like young Rich. Rich who? Rich. I don't know many Riches. Oh, Richie Bonneau? Richie Bonneau. That name rings a bell, but I can't think of who that is. Is it an actor? Maybe Richard? 29 minutes in. Japan about to feed the scrum. They are only 10 metres out from their line. After that last disallowed try from the English. They've already scored 3, though, throughout this game. Now, Sato does put the ball in. That's a massive push coming from England, and they'll get themselves the penalty. Yeah, I'm like, now. Says Blues, Nate. Checking if I'm still timed out, says JP. I didn't realise you were timed out in the first place, JP. Was that on the last one or this one? And Cricket Presenter, says Lawson. We've done a little bit of cricket in the past. There's plenty of test matches taking place at the moment. England versus New Zealand coming up very soon. Does World Rugby have a bet on how much attention they can drive away from the sport? I mean, sometimes it does make me wonder. Last one, says JP. I didn't even realise you got timed out. A Richie Bonneau, Australian cricketer. Probably should have known that, shouldn't I? As a cricket commentator, an Australian cricket legend, says Richard. I have a look at half time. We've got 10 minutes and then we'll have the comparison. DBF no knock on. He doesn't take his hand off the ball, says Scott. No, that guy, says Adam. Now rolling maul here for the English. Yep, last one, I swear. Says Blues, Nate. Now closer to the try line here. This is looking very good, and they're over. Or are they? No, yes, they are. They did manage to cross the try line in the end. And they will take it every day of the week. Did you time them out again, Nate? I just see there that it says message deleted, but I don't know if that is because you gave him a timeout or whether you just deleted the message anyway. That it's going to be another try this time for the English. This one will not be disallowed. And we have got there, yep, last one. And a bit old, but I can see it, I guess. Says Adam. England currently trying to work towards their point-a-minute stage again. They need another try at least by the end of this first half, but they are dominating this game up against the Japanese. English Bulldogs pushing for that try line, says Roof, and that one has gone over. Now making the score after 32 minutes, 26-0. Or is that 28? That might actually be 28. Yes, it is. And yeah, that rolling maul. Jamie George, I think it was, with the ball in hand, so he got himself a second. You actually do remind me of Guy Pearce, at least a bit. Guy Pearce. I really don't know many people, I've realised, in terms of, like, celebrities or sports people. Hamish is definitely the Iron Man of commentary. Yeah, he's all good now, Hamish. Says Blues, Nate. Now ready for the line out. Jamie George. To throw this one in. There we go. Gets it into George Martin. How are England not losing this one? I thought they were doing a no-win November. Says Sebastian. And remind me of the man from Uncle, says Graham. Who's the man from Uncle? You are a splitting image of Pierce Spice. That's the ex-South African rugby player, isn't it? Tell you what, at halftime we're going to have to Google all these people and see which one looks the most like me. And how are England not losing? Says Sebastian. Yeah, they've struggled, haven't they, Seb? Roy, how's Romania? Like, this is like, if Romania's lost, I do apologise. It sounds like I'm taking the mickey out of them. They beat the USA. No, sorry, they beat Tonga, didn't they? Have they had a game this weekend? And if so, who'd they face? That's a nice run for Japan. Massive space opening up. Ball on the inside. And it should be the try to Japan, and it is. Saito does score it. I wait for a second half. England will find a way to make it close, says Richard. This result is okay, but it gives RFU an excuse to keep Borthwick. England are 5 points short of point per minute. And I'll look up Richie Bonneau and tell me I'm the rude one defending you. And while they have they're having shots, says Adam. Yeah, really nicely done by the Japanese. The inside ball from, I believe it was Dylan Riley. I bet Tonga and Canada. And lost to Uruguay. That's still probably a decent tour. Whoa, I sneezed that hard. My camera went blurry. But yeah, still a decent tour, I'd say, for Romania overall. Even though it's not really a tour if it's at home. Well, you can have a home tour, can't you? Resembles the cross between Brad Hamish Pitt and Keanu Hamish Reeves, says Igor. David McCullum, man from the uncle. Are there many New Zealand exports playing for Japan? Not really, I don't think. Not that I know of. Jamie Georgier, I told you. He's the up-and-coming English legend, says Ruth. Just showing there that step from Dylan Riley. Is rugby ever going to surpass soccer? I don't think so. I think that football's too well known globally. And there's still a lot of nations that would have to take up rugby to be anywhere near the caliber of football in terms of supporters. And Japan gets a try. The crowd get behind them. Anything is possible. I'm off to make a braai, says Adam and a Hamish. We don't diss Romania on here now. It's a grand place to visit, says Gleshan. Tom Bieber Cruz says, cool story, bro. Now Saito will kick this one in behind. Just going with a little dink rather than fully sink the slipper into it. England will be tackled on the halfway line. Maro Itoje joining that breakdown. We haven't seen a huge amount of his ball running as of yet. Will Stewart, though, with the flat run next to the ruck. Kick then Porthliet, told to use it. We got the super sticker from Nate as well. Thank you very much, mate. Donations for a try by Japan. And which international team would you say is most improved this year? I would say, oh, that's a tricky one. Most improved, I would either give to Argentina or Italy, probably. Oh, that's a big clean out. And yeah, enjoy it, Adam. Says Roof, rugby will never surpass soccer. There are too many hooligans around. Says Neville. 3 billion people watch Soccer World Cup. Yeah, so like they're never going to beat that in terms of numbers. Now in behind, nice quick hands from the English, although the ball was then loose. Jamie George passing it back to Ollie Lawrence. Now stepping around nicely. Gets the offload to Will Stewart. Numbers on the outside. And that is in the hands of Chandler, cutting himself. One more to Slate over. Puts the grubber in it and he slides in for another try. One moment, I'm about to sneeze again, so I'll quickly mute. We are good. And all good, Hamish. These Blues, Nate. Rugby is too complicated and inaccessible. Yeah, I know over years. It's been a few. One of the wingers for Japan, a New Zealand boy. But his partner is Carla Hohepa. I know her family. She's an ex-Black Fern winger. Said Pluma there. How's rugby inaccessible compared to soccer? Says JP. It just depends on where you are in the world, of course. Like, in terms of, like, for rugby, a lot of rugby is behind a paywall. Football's the same, but certain leagues do show games for free, depending on where you are in the world. Like, I'm actually watching this Japan-England game for free, but it is through the TAB, which, of course, you kind of not really pay for, but you have to have an account with money in it to be able to do it. Do you think there is too much interference by TMO ref in rugby? Sometimes. Like, sometimes it's needed, but other times it can get a bit overkill. And football could stop the diving and pretense. I would gladly watch. Can't bear that stuff, says Graham. And USA has actually done much better than expected in this period, says Gus. What is this thing called soccer? And how's it, guys, says Craig. Welcome in, mate. And all good, Hamish, says Blues, Nate. And there as well. You can literally play soccer anywhere with little, equipment, says 9HD. That's going to be the penalty going the way of Japan. Hamish, please stop with that vulgar word, soccer. Ugh. Did I call it soccer? I think I only called it soccer because someone called it soccer. I normally call it football. I knew that's what you mean. You can do exactly the same with rugby, says JP. Ollie Slate-Home, the last man to score a try for the English. Rugby is a game for hooligans, played gentlemen. Soccer is a game for gentlemen, played by hooligans. There's Richard. Hamish with that DuPont smoothness around him and his facial expressions. Thank you, Ruth, I think. Japan now. Line out chance. 35 points to 7 at the moment. And only a couple minutes remaining in this first half. Saito goes back across there. Thought Shimokawa was going to get his hands on it, but instead hitting it up was Wanga. Effing hell is what we've just heard from the breakdown from the English. It's one thing that they won't be denied, and that is the fact that they do swear a lot around the breakdowns. Not much diving in football anymore. They get found out through VAR and they look like idiots. And watching from South Africa, so cool, sees Craig, and I do appreciate you being here. Of course, the URC coming back next week. We will be covering it on the channel alongside the Sevens, the Blitzbox in action. Excited to see how they go. Another penalty this time going the way of England. And it's safe to say that Japan are definitely gone on the retrograde trajectory since 2019. Into violence, his school story, bro. Number 8, neck roll. So that will be against Faulua Makesi. That might have been why there was swearing in the breakdown. Who was the man of the match in Scotland versus Australia game? I actually don't know in terms of the exact man of the match that they gave it to. But for me, anyway, I probably would have said either Finn Russell or who else would I consider for that game? I mean, we saw a bit of the loose forward trio, but yeah, probably Finn Russell, probably. Or Sione Tuipulotu. I think he was pretty solid throughout the game. England need another quick try. And as England going to win Caesarea, they are certainly in the box seat, that is for sure. But currently, halftime siren is about to sound as we have just seen another knock on. That is going to be the end of the half. England with the confident lead. Right, so I'm going to now, while we're at halftime, we're going to get some stats, but we're also going to look up the blokes that you guys say that I look like, and we'll see which one. David McCullum. Okay, I don't really see that one, to be honest, but we'll try the others. Who else did we have? We had Pierce by retired South African rugby player. Oh, I don't think I look like him. I think he's a bit more like he's been in a gym than myself. And then there was one more, wasn't there? I think. Who was the last one? Richie Beno. We'll search that quickly. Beno, there we go. In his younger years, I guess because it's in black and white, it's probably easier to look a bit more like him. But yeah, half time in this contest, ladies and gents. You look like Rambo and Rambo 2. Winston Churchill quoted that, Hamish, says Richard. And Japan were good in 2015. And also we've got there, JP, you probably look like Patrick Swayze, says Ruth. And there too. But second half, not too far away from starting up, ladies and gentlemen. Robert Downey Jr., like a young one, didn't you say? I'm aging a bit, though. I'm almost 25. And Sione Tuipulotu, says Gus Steffer, who got the man of the match. And Pierce Bronson, says Andrew Now. And I just noticed the score. Yeah, it's a bit one-sided. 35 points to 7. At the moment, the way that it does sit, there's still a lot of work to go in this match. And I feel like England, they'll be happy with their performance, but also maybe a couple little bits and bobs that they can adjust here. But what we're going to quickly do as well while we're at halftime is we're going to look up the World Rugby Facebook page and work out when the awards are actually taking place. Which I do think they're today anyway. I'm just not sure of the time in Monaco that it is going to be starting up. There are a lot of awards that will be received. Yeah, not too sure of the actual time that they are taken. What's the stats looking like in this one at the moment? In terms of the possession stats, they are heavily in favour of the English, currently sitting at the grand total of 58%. For the English, 66% territory, 5 tries to the 1. We've seen 16 defenders beaten by England compared to the 9 that we've seen for Japan. We have seen more turnovers for the Japanese. And they've also had a decent amount of running meters, 150 compared to 220 in this one. And also not the best tackling from Japan, missing 16 tackles, only 69%. Jack Sparrow after a haircut. Says Adam there. Appears Brosnan. Says Ruth. And also we've got there Hamish. Are you still wet behind the ears, son? Says Neville. I look like my mate Hamish from the South Island of New Zealand. I might be your mate Hamish from the South Island. Is it me, or have Japan been worse under Eddie Jones? The Eddie Jones effect. Well, he's trying things out, but I feel like he's trying to do maybe a bit too much in the first year, but he is trying to build towards the future, so we have to give him some time to be able to do that side of things. Line-out success at the moment, 10 from 10 for the English, and line-outs 1 loss for Japan and 1 scrum lost as well. Me too, to be honest. And young Hamish, says Ruth. Another James Bond 007. But yeah, overall, the stats are about what you'd expect. For this first half, Michael Jones was the best exponent of rugby ever, says Neil. Yeah, the World Rugby, they've said when it has taken place, which is today. I just thought they would have given a little bit more information in terms of, like when the actual awards are going to be taking place. Well, we'll go like that, and we'll go like that. To honour the best. Yep, so that's all good. That's the article I think we were just on. Yes, it is. So there's going to be, nominees will be unveiled on... Oh, wait. Oh, no, those are the nominees. Media accreditation is open to cover the red carpet and ceremony. So there's going to be a red carpet. But, so are they, going to bring all the players in? The global fans can follow the red carpet in evening social platforms, including Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube at World Rugby. Oh. Wait, but didn't they say that they weren't going to show it? I don't think it's being televised live. Yeah, although that sounds like they're going to... We'll have to go on the World Rugby YouTube channel and see what we can find while we're at halftime. I just searched World into YouTube. Accidentally forgot to put rugby on the end. World Rugby Live. No, it's not there. Yeah, there's the Try of the Year nominees. Not sure. It seems like it's a little bit of a hidden bit of information, though, which does seem weird. Like someone said at the end of the day, this is the big award, so you'd think that they would try their best to get some eyes on it. But it also seems like they're just trying to hide it. Media interested in covering the ceremony with interview and photo opportunities with guest nominees can apply there. Well, it's a bit late to do that. I'm 12, and what is this? Says Cool Story, bro. We have got there. My best exponent from rugby must be Brian Williams. Phenomenal on and off the field, says Neville. And they're very flat at the moment, says Ruth. And I don't think Steve Borthwick... I don't like Steve Borthwick because we lost 5 games. Yeah, 5 games in a row under him is certainly not the start of the end of year that you want to have. Definitely not building into the Six Nations anyway. That's a competition that you want to have some confidence moving into. Eddie Jones is probably fuming at the moment. Maybe he's thrown water bottle away already. Says Monet Lagrange. Yeah, can follow the red carpet and evening of celebration on the World Rugby social platforms, including Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. And it's the evening. So, time in Monaco. We're going to get this sorted out. Monaco. Time in Monaco is 6 p.m. So, I would assume that it would be after this game that they start doing some information about it. World Rugby Award next year, maybe a Weet-Bix box, unless you win the lotto. Says Peter Wild. And Eddie Jones with the laughing face from short videos, and Byron Williams, number 11. But yeah, still very limited information about the World Rugby Awards, it would seem. This is halftime during a game called rugby. Says Neville. What else have we got in terms of World Rugby Instagram, maybe? They might have a time on it, World Rugby Instagram. Like a story. Normally you put up a story of some sort. My all-time heartthrob is Dan Carter. Well, it's better a year than ours. They got the nominees there for the game changers. DJ Forbes is in there. Chris Ludlaw as well. But nothing else other than that. So yeah, they're keeping it very secret for the overall awards. So Gatlin and Eddie says, it's a cool story, bro. It's better years than ours. Well, that's true, but Wales are building, aren't they, Flesh? And they've still got time. They're going to have to make quite a few switches in terms of the... Well, that's the thing. What can they do? Like, not even the coaching side of things, but like it's very difficult, I would say. Or you can use Black Friday 24 to get an annual pass for just $365 for Sky Sport Now in New Zealand. That's not too bad. That's still expensive, but it's like not as bad as it normally is. I have to let my mum know about that. She wanted to know what the new year was going to involve. I think the Welsh have no option but to give Gatlin his exit bonus, says Neville. Yeah, it's a tricky one, isn't it? But at the end of the day, he's still, he's a good coach. It's just, I don't know, Wales are in trouble. World Rugby not screened live on TV, says Andre G. Yeah, it's not going to be screened live on TV, but by the sounds of it from that post that they had, they're going to show it on some social medias, or at least clips of it in terms of the red carpet and whatnot. But, yeah, it makes it awkward for the players who are coming from England. If there were any nominated, which I think there's still a couple, England will easily win. But this won't change what happened these past few weeks, says Bandito, and greatest rugby player I had the pleasure of seeing in the flesh was Jonah Lomu, says Colin. And these names of superstars of rugby are never ending, so many. And Jonah Lomu, yes. Here's Ruth there too. Yeah, big celebrations for the Japanese when they did score their try of Naito Sato. I'm still waiting for the second half to kick back in. Nothing on World Rugby Facebook page either. Yeah, I'm not a social media marketer, and I am terrible at knowing what to put in titles and everything like that. But if you're holding a World Rugby Awards, surely you let people know when the World Rugby Awards are taking place, so that they can be slightly excited and not find out a few hours after it's taken place and be like, oh, did that happen? And Capisi as well, says Colin. I met him, worked with his sister, Monique, says Ator there. And Steph Tatoya has flown back to South Africa, so only Cheselin and Colby may be at the awards. 90% of the All Blacks, says Andrew. Yeah, but sure, because because Emmanuel Fiwa-Boso got nominated. He's not playing here. So is that because he's flown back to take part in the awards? Because if so, I guess it doesn't matter so much since it's Japan that they're up against. But, surely if this was a big game for the English, they wouldn't want to ship him back early. And come on, Pommies, after 35 points scored at halftime, please. I said 70 points to 25. Played golf with Rassi and Anaka. Droski. Honestly, Gats is just building for the World Cup. Doesn't realise he can keep throwing young players into these games and keep losing them. To build depth, the fans are pissed off. Says Fleshin. Let's face it, it's 90% of the previous All Blacks, says Andrew. But we're about to be back underway for this game. Japan just finishing the halftime chats. And we over there. Yeah, cool story, brilliant. Says Ruth. So Borthwick trying to fire up his team. Says on Colby or Oxnashare. Says Craig, yeah, Oxnashare. I feel like he was the People's World Rugby Champion or World Rugby Winner of the Year for the player. But, yeah, sadly the props just don't get that love, do they? There's a DJ somewhere. The crowd are looking quite bored. But they were showing a DJ with his headset on, and I was looking around and I couldn't see him in the camera shot. 6 tries altogether so far, all conversions successful. Much better than Springboks with all their so-called depth, says Bruce. I mean, they are playing up against the Japanese here, Bruce, for the English. And, I mean, I can show you, like, how Japan have gone. They conceded 64 points up against New Zealand. They conceded 52 up against the French. So I don't see the comparison between South Africa building depth up against slightly higher sides up than the Japanese and still winning them relatively comfortably compared to this. You know, like, it's 2 very different scenarios. And Peter Totoya has left Europe. He will not be at the awards, says Andre G. Yeah, he went back to South Africa. So, like, I don't know if he's the only one who's going to be missing. Remind me who was coaching Japan again. It is Eddie Jones. Well, this one, while struggling between Rugby World Cup, but somehow finds a spot in the quarterfinals. I think I recall seeing somewhere that none of the Bok players are going to be at the awards. So I guess if 3/4 of your nominees for the World Rugby other player are absent, it's a little tough. Yeah, see, I just don't think they've given the players enough time to get organised. Like, because before the players were nominated, flights would have already been organised for the teams to go back. World Rugby stated on Twitter for no Ox nomination, says Jimbo. Yes, him and Rassi 2010 fund raising event for the Cheetahs, says Ator. And they should add a People's Choice category. Well, I guess the whole awards, in a way, are People's Choice. Talking about kicking from the tee, Hamish, says Bruce. It's because it's not conversions, it's conversations successful is the problem there. It corrected from conversions to conversation. So that's where the curveball is, the autocorrect. When did you stop nightclubbing, Hamish? I never started. I don't think I've ever been... Oh, no. Well, I've been in one slightly, almost a nightclub, but it was a sports bar type thing. Other than that, I can't remember being in a nightclub in my life. I don't think I have been. As their Coach of the Year award, not for World Rugby, but I assume there will be in some sort. When is it happening? Isn't it today? It is today. I think it's happening in a couple hours' time that it will be starting up. Peter Steptodoy probably told them to post the award to him. And we have got their... I read that one, didn't I? Rather a couple of wins in the summer or autumn in the Six Nations rather than Gatland exit in the quarters in the World Cup final. Or in the World Cup rather than the final, sorry. What on earth does this have to do with this game? Not sure. I guess now you guys just know that I don't do much night clubbing. But now England currently having to defend early on in the second half. Japan with the possession. There's no nightclubs in Hamishville. That's true. There's only really a pub, and that's about it. Now going off to the right-hand side. Sorry, Hamish, baffling. See, autocorrect is not my friend. But yeah, I was utterly confused because I thought you were just talking about how people were saying about the Springboks building depth rather than about the conversions side of things. Now, 30 metres out from the line. That's amazing. I clubbed for 6 years, like twice a week on average. Didn't you say you were 12 before? So, like, that was between the ages of 6 and 12, I assume. But now, getting ready to go for the quick tap and go here for Saito. Oh, a little bit of a juggle with the ball for the Japanese, but they are still in position just inside of the 22. Nicholas Makara drops it onto the boot and, not quite finished off for the Japanese, only a metre out from their own line, England. What would be a good pickup line as a sports bar? Honestly, I wouldn't know. I know my mum has a sports bar story when her and dad were in one, and I think it was the rugby league guys had come in, but then they were all blocking the cricket, so she told them to move, which was an interesting situation. There's only a pub and a bowling alley in Hamish's Town. There used to be a gym, but it burned it down. Jeez, crap. No, but the bowling alley's 30 minutes away. It's not even in the town, unfortunately. So, I had to travel an hour to go there and back. A cool story was our nightclub Nightcrawler. Same guy, say club twice a week. And a morning, says Andrew. Welcome in. What does depth have to do with kicking accuracy? Says 9HD. You know what time it is, says Jonathan. What did you bet on this time, Jonathan? Do let me know. And ask her how she likes her eggs in the morning, says Andrew. Now, Japan's still in possession. They've had a couple minutes of the ball here. It's just whether or not they can make something of it. Nice flat attack and run up the middle of the field. I think there was a Fafita playing in the number 12 jersey for this game. Now, Kazuki Himeno tackled. They have to release him. He's on his knee. England just jumping into the breakdown, trying to be a nuisance. Nice carry for McKessie. Hamish, you don't have time to disco and go clubbing, says Ruth. Around the side again. A little bit closer. Kazuki Himeno 10 metres out from the line. And there's another penalty. The ball's emerged from the ruck. And you're not allowed to dive on it, as the comment from the ref. Now 3.5 minutes of Japan on attack. I think here, what are they going to do? It looks like they're considering kicking for the corner, but I think they might just go... No, they are going to still kick for the corner. I would have gone for the quick tap there. It looks like England are starting to get tired. I know these ones from 2 years. I was solid every Thursday student night. Clubs Saturday, Friday night was pubs. Says Bloomer. Hamish's only pickup line is, how many grandchildren do you have, sweet cheeks? Says Grant. I'm thinking under 12 tries, but haven't bet yet. Well, if you haven't bet, the odds probably aren't as good anymore, I would say. We've only had 6 tries up till this stage. What do you think will happen with Razor wanting to select overseas based players for the ABs? I don't know if New Zealand Rugby will change their mind, though. Yeah. It's a tricky one for him because, there's a couple players overseas that he would like to select. But honestly, the list isn't that long. It's just pretty much Richie Mo'unga and then Shannon Frizzell. That's about it. Maybe Aaron Smith, but then I think they also want to build towards the future. Whainā Nuku, maybe they'd consider it, but I don't think he wants to play international rugby anymore. So, yeah, it's a tricky one, but I don't see them changing the rule too soon, but I think that they might have to consider it soon. That's a brilliant run. Oh, he's dropped the ball. Sanella Wanga was in open space. No one touched him, and it's just gone straight through their hands. Overseas players equal end of Super Rugby, says Sandor. And yeah, they're trying their best to keep everyone in New Zealand, or at least some of the big players. But the money overseas is just getting too good now. Samantha Wafer posted on social media that she is at the Monte Carlo Bay Hotel and Resort for the awards. So we know the location, but not the time. I'm searching. Would love to watch it, says Lilia B. Yeah, just drops it without even getting the contact of Marcus Smith. Happy for Scotland, says Faisal. Yeah, good win to close out the November internationals over Australia. In Australia, they still have their game next week up against the Scottish, which they'll have to get fired up for. Now, it's going to be the scrum feed. It's time for England. First 6 minutes of the half, we saw about 5 minutes of the Japanese attack, and then other than that, not much else. Do you have a girlfriend, Hamish? I do not know. My schedule does make it very difficult. Scotland look great on attack, says Sandor. There's a supermarket in Florida called Sweet Cheeks. Also, earlier on, I mentioned about how my tactic with a pickup line is if they look at you, sprint away. So that also makes it difficult too. You mean Ireland, says Jared? What did I say? I probably said Scotland, did I? And Scotland look great on attack, says Sandor. Nicely taken under the high ball for the Japanese. We'll open a club for you called Kiwi Lads Busy with Work, says Ruth. 40 metres out from the line. Now back across to the right-hand side. Breaking through one. Dylan Riley passes one more. Could be the inside ball. No, he just decides he wants to run straight at him. Australia versus Ireland, says Jared. There's a decent gal out there for you, bro. 100%, says Andrew. Probably, but I just haven't gone looking. Saito. Oh, almost through for Nicholas McCarran. Oh, another drop ball for the Japanese. That's going to hurt them. I just paid the 150. Hamish stays paying for dinner and all that jazz, says Plumer. I don't even feel like I need to bet because I have such a good betting run this Autumn Nations. Yeah, I mean, you don't want to spoil it now by getting it wrong. Look the other direction and sprint away. Almost had me spitting out my coffee, says JP. Hamish, we've seen you sprint. You're not getting away from anyone. Yeah, I just fall over. And then that doesn't help either. I'm trying to think if I fell. Yeah, no, I fell over multiple times on the weekend during cricket. I just have no centre of gravity for some reason. It's probably because I sit like this all day, so then it just doesn't work. Hamish actually his girlfriend under his desk at the moment. That's not true. Under my desk, there is a drink bottle and a magazine for AA, which is not alcohol anonymous. It's like the road people. So unless you're talking about her, maybe she's my girlfriend. Her face is covered by a sticker. You don't need to go looking, she'll stalk you, says Neville. Ideal. And past the sushi bro, no ball hogs. Australia ran their offence well at the beginning, but Scotland just shut them down. And England is doing well, says Jared. Yeah, I mean, they've got their 35 points. They're well and truly ahead. Hello, he's a good sport, says Sandor. It's the best back division Scotland have ever had in my lifetime, in my humble opinion, says Colin. I mean, they've got some class players in there. Kinghorn at 15. I think it was his first start for November, unless, of course, he did play last week. I can't actually remember who they had up against the Portuguese, but, you know, he looked like he was going to be all right at the back. And better than last weekend, says Jared. Yeah, they're doing much better here, England, but I think they're being put under a little bit less pressure as well, so that is helping them play a little bit better for their rugby. Both front rows going to be standing up there. Australia was atrocious on defence, to be fair, says Sandor. So what happened to Japan, says Cool Story Bro? They just had a few early tries against them, which certainly didn't help. England need another two quick tries. I watched our women's rugby league team yesterday, bro. You have no problems at the pub with one of them, says Andrew. Our women's rugby league team. Is that like the New Zealand rugby league team? I was at the pub the other day with the cricket lads, as they are called. I've been going to Murrayfield since 1974. Jeez. That's a fair innings. That's impressive. So, of all that time, Colin, favourite game that you've been to at Murrayfield? Try and put you on the spot. Just imagine a comeback, says Johan. Yes, bro, says Andrew. Japan peaked in 2015, says Sandor. Now, a big push from England. Japan being told to keep that scrum up, England pushing it, so all of Japan get the penalty. And that will frustrate the English as they decided not to use the ball and instead try and milk the scrum. It hasn't worked. But that's crazy of New Zealand cricket, says Andrew. Are they going to put him in Ward 4? That's the old school line, isn't it? I can't think of exactly what it is, but it's something about, I don't know about that, Justin. That's the maternity ward, isn't it? That's the one. Are you really a sprint record holder? Says JP. And Hamish says Georgia played Japan recently. Georgia should beat Japan, in my opinion. I know Georgia versed Italy and only lost by 3. So, yeah, it would be a very intriguing game. I'm just trying to remember if it's happened. Not recently, anyway. Do we make history winning in India 3 times? Yep. First time in 30 years New Zealand had 1 win in India, let alone winning a whole series. It's the longest series that India have lost at home, like against any side ever, in terms of like 3 from 3. They've only lost 2 match series before. So, yeah, New Zealand somehow, I don't know how they did it, but hopefully they can do something similar up against England, seeing as I think I'm going to be going to that first match. Swansea 4 and Swansea 3, Leeds 4. Calm me down, England. Fantastic for New Zealand cricket, says Andrew. Digging in there like a demented mole. And was it Eddie? Says Sandor. And favourite games were Scotland's 2 Grand Slams in 1984 and 1990. Says Colin. So yeah, both a little bit before my time. Ooh, yep, that one's gone in touch. Did you prefer the old school games at Murrayfield or the current ones, like more recently? Like, which atmosphere would you say is the better now? 29 minutes left, though. 51 minutes through. That's a great question. What's the best game you've actually watched in the stadium? Says Leshan, I remember 1990, Colin. Says Jimbo. I was a fan of the Crow Brothers. Now ready to throw this one in again. It will be the replacement 16 for Japan. Originally it was going to be Lee. He has found himself in the starting lineup for this game. That being Siensen Lee. Now passing out wide. Naikabulla trying to bump through one, but held up by Ollie Lawrence. How many Scottish World Cup wins? Says Ben. How well, Hamish, during those 2 Grand Slams, you're still hanging around. Says Neville. I probably wasn't even a thought at that point. And just imagine New Zealand beat England in the cricket. Says Jared. I just hope whatever happens in the test match, even if England win, right? This stays between us, right? Even if England win, as long as it's a 5-day test. Like, we got the match pass, so I want to really get to enjoy 5 back-to-back days of cricketing action rather than a test match that's ended in like 3. I've never seen an international, just loads of Super 12 and 14. New Zealand cricket doing big tings. Slaying India in India, 3rd time ever, 1st time in 36 years, says Plumer. Old Murrayfield used to be awesome atmosphere. The 1990 game was the first time Flower of Scotland was sung. Oh, right. I've been playing Don Bradman cricket 14. Have you played any of the newer ones? I remember playing Cricket 04 was the go-to on the PlayStation 2. It's like another sub is being made for the Japanese here. I love Ben Stokes, says Jared. And I enjoyed Stephen Fleming as New Zealand captain, always calm on the field and willing to try unorthodox tactics, says Brian. Looks like it is going to be Wanga who makes his way off. He's had a mixed game. He's had some decent moments, but also did drop that ball when no one touched him. I broke all my school's 100-metre records, 200 metres and 1,000 metres. Blitz the previous record holder. She was queen until I left her in the dust. Why has Japan gone so poor? They were savage in the previous World Cup, says Vincent. I think it's just giving young guys a chance. Like, this is a very different Japanese lineup. That's a great bit of skill on the inside. Flick round the back pass. And Furbank scores it for England. Jake Van Porflia absolutely loving it on the sideline, but that was a very cheeky round the back kind of pass there from the English. George Furbank reaps the rewards. Why has England gone so poor? And when you grab them burger buns, do you like squeeze or slap them in both hands? What are we talking about, Nate? I had a copied version of Shane Warne Cricket, 1999. Yeah, the flick on the inside. I think it was Tommy Freeman who did do this pass, but yeah, flick round the side, round the back. And then just regathers it. Just checking his feet. Or why is Japan? Oh no, I read that one like 3 times, haven't I? I keep on going to it. And cheesy cheeseburger for breakfast. Don't know about a cheeseburger for breakfast. When this game does finish, it's going to be about 7 a.m. New Zealand time. I could go look at some breakfast, maybe. If I can guarantee what time my parents would be up, I could also get them something. They should be up at around 7:30. So I might be able to get strategic and get them some breakfast as well. It might be the idea. And good old days, says Jimbo. And maybe Japan got too many foreigners in their domestic comp. Flick round the back, title of famous sex tape. I like Daniel Vittori, very good spinner of the ball. My first Murrayfield visit was October 1991, the tender age of 3, Scotland versus Ireland. Who won that game? Do you remember? And do you actually remember the game yourself, or you just know you went to it? Do let me know. That's kicked out on the full from the Japanese, so it is going to be a scrum for England on the halfway line. Still plenty of time. Craig McMillan for the win. Scotland. Says Ger, grab the eggs, bro, make some French toast. Says Andrew. I was at that game too, says Richard. And maybe Eddie Jones is just all hat and no cattle. Says Mark Shane Bond had the world's fastest bowl at one point, says Plumer. We used to have mental weekends in Dublin when the Scots came to town. How many total tries? So far at the moment, we are up to 7 total tries. Did you end up back it? I thought you were going to not back it, Jonathan. I thought you were going to behave. But I assumed that you may be just asking. Unless you have actually backed it. Can you remember Brooke Crowden for the All Blacks? I cannot. Oh, sorry, Cowden, not Crowden. Now, Henry Slade passes on the outside. That's not forward, is it? That looked backwards to me, but clearly going forward. Does anyone know who the World Rugby Player of the Year is? Not yet, but I think it's tonight that we find out. No, I haven't betted, but I'm still contemplating. Chris Kens is my favourite New Zealand player with Nathan Astle. Close second, I got a concussion and said rude things to my friend's dad from the sideline like I was drunk during a match I played at school. Oh, there you go. Colby says, Bloomer, did he get it? Or is that who you think will get it? I think we're still waiting to find out. They haven't announced it on their website or anything like that. It's Cheslin Colby. It doesn't matter who they award it to. And Peter Steph says Jonathan. And it's DuPont, says Andrew now. Now Japan, once again, have the ball 50 metres out, but once again a knock-on taking place in the breakdown. I think the Titanic is just setting sail on my first visit to Cardiff, or was just setting sail. And best game I've ever watched live was Springboks and British and Irish Lions. Second test at Loftus, 2009, unforgettable experience. And we got the donation. Shout Mum and Dad Breakfast. Thank you very much, Nate. Once again, greatly appreciate it. It seems like you pay for breakfast every week at the moment. That second test was brutal, says Sandor, and Oxford, they ghosted him. And spent my 7th birthday in Paris at the Scotland game in 1995. That was phenomenal. Night left in the hotel alone while Mum and Dad went to the bar with the team, says Kerr. I think Japan had some real strict rules about who can represent them. Not that easy for non-Japanese to represent them, says Stefan. And Cool Guy Blues Nate says Andrew now. Now going off to the left-hand side here. Marcus Smith sells the dummy, breaks through one, tried to get the offload, and it has managed to find the hands of his outside centre. And Super Rugby 2025, and enjoy Mum and Dad, says Blues Nate. Now there's going to be the advantage to England. They are 40 metres out from the line. Ollie Lawrence, big shot on him. Randall goes back across to the right. Flat ball to Chandler, cunning himself, who had plenty of pace as he ran it at the line. Now on the outside, Furbank. And he get wrestled down. In fact, that time it was Ollie Slate home. A lot of Ollies. I don't even remember when we were talking about the Ollies for England. We didn't even mention Ollie Slate home, who was out there on the field at the moment, never back on side, so another penalty goes the way of England. DuPont, please, says Roof. And Sandor, it was amazing. A roller coaster, still have the Guinness shirt the promo girls gave out in the beer garden. Says Sakabulla. Will there ever be a player like John Olomu? Says Neil. Probably not. Like, there's been other players who are different to Lomu who have been absolutely brilliant, but yeah, I don't think you can, because like that was probably the first mainstream, or like not so much mainstream, but the first guy that people who didn't follow rugby knew was Jonah Lomu. So you can't really have that again, if that makes sense. That was the best or just awesome rugby, says Sandor. Now Maro Atoje running up to take the line out here, 5 metres out from the line. Nicely taken. And now, it's gone down straight away, but it was a legal sack from the Japanese. Luke Cowan-Dickey going round the side, reaches out. Great power shown by the replacement number 2 and gets it. I stood beside Lomu when I was 9. I was the size of his right thigh. Terrifying, says Kerr. And we have got there Heinrich Bruzo bursting into the scene. How good, says Sandor, but that is another try now for the English, giving them their 8th of the match. 7th of the match, I think it is, actually. And the score says array at the moment, 45 points to 7, but still a kick to come, so it could almost be 47 in the very near future. And John Lohman was the first rugby bulldozer in 95 World Cup final, changed rugby for the better forever, says MTYC. In the tunnel when I was ball boy at Murrayfield, says Kerr. Well, you got to be ball boy for, so New Zealand versus Scotland, I assume that would have been. The thing about Lomu, was you needed to tackle him before he got into his stride, says Colin. I think that kick is actually missed, so that will keep the score as 45 points to 7. We've got time off now. I hope that is just due to, just subs being made for the Japanese. So they had it all that year, Super Rugby Tri-Nations World Cup and Lions, obviously. Mirzo was a beast, says Sakabula. I saw Lomu do that on TV. I don't know, actually it was a Barbarians game. Ah, right. Before he got the ball. Says Eric J. and Hamish, you should do classic match commentary and watch along during off-season. Says Sandor, it could be an idea. Like, there are a few classic games that have been shown on YouTube. I feel like if I was going to do that, though, I want to have maybe my dad do it with me. Just because he'll have a lot more knowledge of those older players than myself. Great watching the 95 Rugby World Cup and how quick the scrums used to be. None of the endless resets, says Richard. If you missed the tackle, he was gone. John Alomu married a girl from Kimberley in South Africa, says Andre G. And try time England, says Jarrett. But now, 19 minutes remaining. They've been told to use it again. So Harry Randall going to really send this one up high. Oh, it's going to be the knock on. The advantage still being played. Please, just not the Albany test, please, Hamish. Says Sakabula. Now off to the right. Advantage is now over. Nicholas McCurran. Now off to the right. Quick hands. Japan haven't looked bad in this game. It's just their defence every once in a while just opens up. But other than that, like attacking-wise, you know, they've been finding the gaps a few times. England's scramble is good. Eddie Jones does not seem to have much success. Says Sue Walsh and Just handled Jonah pretty well. Now another breaking run for the Japanese, just as we were mentioning about what they've done on attack. Campese was the only player who ignored their haka. Says Neil. Been told to use it again there. Japan straight through. Offload up and Kazuki Himeno scores the try for Japan. Watched the 95 final in the tent at Glastonbury. I remember the look of Tiro and Will Carling's eyes when Lomu was running right at him in the Rugby World Cup 1995. And Just says Sakabula. That's a great try for Japan. Just Nicholas McCurran getting the offload away. Some great pace being shown by Osada, who we haven't really seen massive amounts of throughout the rest of this game. I've been lucky to meet several legendary players, actually meet them properly, not just the walk past. Lunch with Joel Stransky, dinner with David Campese, and dinner with Bobby Skinstad, right top. My best game live was watching my boy and his team get promotion in the National Leagues, only to be told by the New Zealand coach, or told by the Kiwi coach, I was bringing the Kiwi up to take his place next season. Oh, that's nice, isn't it? The kick from Japan is successful. They don't mention about Zinzan Brook these days. Says Norihiko. Although he was on a New Zealand one not too long ago. I think it was earlier on this year. They actually had him on for a bit of a talk. For Zinzan Brook, he did some sort of interview thing talking about the current All Blacks plus the old. Good try, Japan, says Eric J. Yeah, currently a high-scoring game. Someone predicted around 70 points would be scored. In fact, I think there was 70 points on one side, which we are slowly working towards. But Japan inside of their own 22. A final Australian strip, Campese. Whilst it's my music room, says Kerr. Nice. I assume it's framed, maybe. I spoke to Zinzan Brook after the drop goal. And Try Japan says, Jared, it certainly was. Eddie Jones coached Japan when they beat my Bok. I was peeling onions for 3 days, says Johan. It's gone into touch now for the Japanese. I can name AB's greats. Don't get me started. Michael Jones, Frank Bunce, as they called him. Richie Mackler, Dan Carter, Sean Fitzpatrick, and signed with a note and framed yes. And Kerr polishes the piano with it, says Jimbo. Zinzan was going to go to league with him. Had a contract signed at all. Eddie Jones, he does not look happy at the moment. But Japan, even in all their defeats, they've still scored at least a couple tries most of the time. Just good to see, although this is going to be another try for England. This is wide open space down the wing. All they have to do is run it in, and he's tripped over 1 metre out from the line. So close yet so far away. Randall tries to go around the side of the breakdown and is smashed over. Now going to the side there. Close to the try line. Ben Earl tries to stretch out And he's going to be turned onto his back as well. I've been told to stay back for the Japanese, and they have gone just a little bit early. And that is a... Wait. Oh, the try is good. I thought there was a penalty to the Japanese, but it is the try for Luke Cowan-Dickey, who now has his second. Despite not winning my bet yesterday, I ordered a new record as well. Screaming, Dabs, Dark Side of the Moon. Tell you what, that bet that you did, though, it should have happened, theoretically. Like, it was not a good second half. But first half, like, it looked like it was just going to be a breeze. Yeah, good work to stop the replacement scoring in this one. Tom Roebuck thought he was in. And then, yeah, Cowan-Dickey goes over and scores the try. I wish people would stop reminding me that Japan win. I have to go back to therapy, says Neville. And Sakabula, says Johan. And that kick has gone over now. Going to make the score, with it currently sitting, 52 points to 14. So another 14 minutes or so remaining in this game. Just showing there down the wing. Plenty of space for Tommy Roebuck and posting in. I don't think the previous one went through. If you want to see fast scrums, Jimbo, I assume it's going to be, if you want to see fast scrums, look at Rugby League, maybe, is the second part of that. If you dug Gallup, Mills, Miliaina, Kevin Milamu, and Eddie versus Gatland are for most tarnished. Yeah, it's a tricky one. Like, everyone's talked about Gatland at the moment, but England were on a 5-match losing streak heading into this game. The only sides that England have beaten in the last about 8 months is Japan. Well, England can win if they play a weak team, says Jason, and that's my 50 plus. A rugby union match is South Africa Springboks versus New Zealand All Blacks third test. 1976, says MTYC. Oh no, if you want to see fast, okay, I get it now. Wild to think that Lomu played his career with serious disease. Nowhere near 100% fitness, that's the scariest part, says Kerr. And can we give a shout out to the Barrett brothers? Good documentary in the making, says Nigel. Big Dotty Ware was my favourite Scotland player. Looks like another change being made. George Martin making his way from the field for England. Still trying to work out what time the World Rugby Awards will be taking place. I would assume it would start maybe an hour after this game, just because they want to give time for post-match press conferences and everything along those lines, and then they would be jumping into it. Now going to the right-hand side. That's a flat ball to Ollie Lawrence. Now back across to the side again. Ben Earl going to be wrestled down. Rush defence there from the Japanese. Working all right, making England have a couple errors. Lomu never said a word about it, even when the press and fans were rubbishing his work ethic, says Sandor. It looks like baked beans on toast for breakfast in England. And the flower bomb test in 1981 in New Zealand. It's going to be a good kick downfield from Randall. Gains about 30 metres. And to be honest, we have the new subscription, or we have a new subscription when it comes to watch this game in Japan. I'm saving money, says Norihiko. And we are going to be doing plenty more matches for the Japanese in the future as well. I believe they're still on the 7 circuit, I think. Or, no, they might not be at the moment. But either way, we've got the 7s coming up too as another way of watching. 40 metres out from the line here for England again. Cross kick. The team did go straight into the hands of Tommy Roebuck. Puts in the fend on Nakabula. This time he gets through. And Roebuck does get his try that he's slightly missed out on just before. Rice price in Japan just dropped by 43%. And also 99 was ours. Techman was great team. And awesome Amish, sweet dreams for later, pal. A salute to you, says Story Brew or Bull Crow. I'll just call you Story Bro, much easier, isn't it? And Sandora 99. Why did Mallet drop Techman? But now 57 points on the board, tiptoeing down the try line like a demented giraffe. Commentary genius of Bill McLaren, says Kerr. With this kick, I think we're up to 60. I think that's 69 minutes. Yes, it is. 69 minutes at the moment. I only had it on a little screen. And now 59 points to 14. This is about what the score was that a lot of people anticipated, isn't it? Shilly Shally. Says Eric J. Marcus Smith, I think, just making his way off the field now. And that is going to be for Finn Smith. So Smith for Smith. McLaren the GOAT, says Jimbo. Bill McLaren's was brilliant. Says Sally. Shot coming in on Ben Earl. It looks like Japan might be able to get themselves the penalty. Yes, they do. Lomu was very special. Single-handedly dragged rugby into the professional era. Had Lomu step over this to score the try at Newland's 95 World Cup. Says Nigel. Aim should do a reaction video to Bill McLaren's best moment compilation. Says Kerr there. We'll have to give it a look, won't I? Do you spectate the bull riders, Hamish? New Zealand has a few good riders. Are they gangsters, those guys? Not really at the moment. I used to see a little bit of the rodeo side of things. But, yeah, I wouldn't have any idea who's there now. Tony Underwood, was it not? Says Kerr. Was it Mike Catt? Now thrown to the front. Ulaviti claims it well. And now Japan again will look to get their rolling ball, marching forward. Saito. It's being held in. Fivers through the middle. They do have to use it. He's done very well to be able to pass that while he's had Maru Atoje hanging off him. I think he did them both, says Richard. Been told to use it again. And no advantage in play now for the Japanese Uluveti. They are 10 metres out from the English try line. And the crowd are singing loud and proud at the moment. Nicholas McCarran with a Waikato pass just a little bit over the head, but they will go back for the original advantage. Underwood, I think it was. Says Nigel. And yes, both, says Sally. Lomu went over most of the England team that day, but the famous one was Mike. And a mate actually been doing rodeo since college. The crazy little critter, says Bloom. 5 metres out here for Japan. Do they kick for the corner or do they just quick tap and go? It looks like they're going the corner. They're being slightly sensible in terms of trying to lure in a few more of the English players to make sure that it goes out, and he has done just that. And Bill McLaren was the voice of rugby. He is as slippery as a baggy in a border burn. Oh, it's pure genius, says Colin. English will learn absolutely nothing playing against this pathetic Japanese team. At least the chariot will swing low once more. Crash in the next corner, says Lewis. It's going to be just short of the line now. Knock-on advantage against Japan, and England will once again be able to clear their lines. Looks like, first of all, though, they're going to go with the pick and go, and now there will be the scrum. Scrum England, 7 minutes left in this matchup. Hamish, who is your favourite rugby commentator? I mean, I've heard the most of probably Grant Nisbet, just because, watching rugby in New Zealand, that's normally who you hear for Super Rugby as well as for the All Blacks. Quite like listening to Tony Johnson at the moment. Don't say Keith Quinn, says Sandor. See, he was a little bit before my time period of watching a little bit. Finally, England is playing against competition they can beat. This tour, they have hosted Romania, Uruguay, Japan, and Georgia. So trying to compete against real Rugby Nation England, says MB. This tour they should have hosted. South Africa GOAT of the rugby camp commentators was Gerhard Vivius and Justin Marshmallow. And both Cat and Underwood says I fed, and I missed Kinky as Japanese best winger. He was studying medical science. That's the thing. A lot of these Japanese players in the top league as well have got degrees that they are working on while also playing rugby, which is very impressive. Another penalty goes the way of England. I still need to send you Bill McLaren's balls to taste, says Kerr. That's an interesting sentence, isn't it? I've sent you Bill McLaren compilation on Discord. Yeah, I have to give it a look after this match. As long as, of course, the World Rugby Awards don't start straight away. Why don't you interview for TV commentator job? Then you can leave building jobs, says Johan. I mean, it's easier said than done. Like, a lot of the commentators, Tom Curry just took another knock to the head. He's had a few of those throughout the last little while. But, like, yeah, in terms of the rugby, at least here in New Zealand, if you're not an ex-player, you don't even get a half by looking. I also don't have any media, like, background in terms of a degree in media studies or anything like that. Like, yes, I have the YouTube channel, which, like, has worked very well for me in terms of, like, building up an audience, but they don't take any of that into consideration, if that makes sense. South Africans are the best commentators. Says Hafid there. Back in the day was a Welsh commentator whose name I forgot, but remember the accent. Jimbo, have you not had Howick Bulls before? Are you doing media now, big boy? Says Sandor. He was on fire for Wellington, says Bloomer, back in the day. Oh no, I read that one, didn't I? They should get Julian Savia back in the bus. And also, I could not stand Hugh Bladen's monotonous drone. Now 5 minutes left. I think Tom Curry isn't great at the moment. He took a long time to get to that scrum. I think he needs another HIA. Honestly, like, I don't know how he's still out there on the field. The way that he went down, you are the media now, Hamish. You are the Joe Rogan of rugby. I don't know about that. That's quite the level to live up to. I draw the line at Haggis, says Jimbo. Another scrum reset. Only 4 minutes remaining. Okay, one free kick each. Next is going to be the penalty. Joe Rogan smokes less pot. It's just a hard-boiled sweet, says Kerr. So are they still making them, or is it an old school one that would be like past its best before day? Joe Rogan wears pants too, says JP, which would make him different to myself. Will Eden Park still be New Zealand's #1 rugby ground, or will there be another one? No, Eden Park will be the #1. Like, no other ground has an even close record. It certainly won't be Wellington, I can tell you that right now. It's been a fortress for any team playing there against the All Blacks as of late, but that one's going to be kicked into touch by Marcus Smith. One more try, England. Kelso Stovies beats hook balls all day, Kerr. Says Kerr. How many balls have these men made? I guess they're not all balls, maybe. What are stovies? I have no idea what a stovey is. Cliff Morgan was the Welsh equivalent of Bill McLaren. Morgan's commentary on the Gareth Edwards try when the Barbars played the ABs at Cardiff Arms Park in 1971. What's the main gangs you see down south? I know there's a mongrel mob chapter down there. Follow a guy on YouTube. He's a member. He always vlogs. Does he? I mean, to be fair, it's probably quite interesting. Be a bit more eventful than a day in the life of myself. But, like, I haven't seen too many around. Like, you probably do get them in the bigger towns, but, like, we're only a small town. Like, we got a Nazi, but that's about it. And now 10 metres out from the line now. It's going to be Maro Itoje, little grubber in behind, and it's going to be kicked into touch by the Japanese. How many points have England scored in the last 20 minutes? They've got the Roebuck try and then maybe one before that, I think, so just the two. Still making them, same recipe for God knows how long. They were made famous by Bill McLaren. Apparently always had a bag in his pocket. Confirm he did each time I met him, says Kerr. And one day they'll build a waterfront stadium. Eden Park is a nightmare to get in and out of. Are you doing any games next weekend? So the plan for next week, we're going to be doing the either Ireland versus Australia or the Sharks versus Stormers, or maybe even both. And then also the Sevens is all taking place next week as well. That's real talk, says Bloomer. Now, Cunningham himself flicks it up to Nick Ezekwe. He's had the ball knocked out of his hands. And number 5 changing the bounds, or the bind, sorry. So that's going to be another penalty to England. That seems to be the trend that we've had for the last 10 minutes or so, is just repeated infringements. England still want to finish this game with a high, get one more, try to bring them into 60-point territory. SB should pick Willis or Head instead of Curry. At the moment, Curry, it's going to be quite good for him to have a little bit of off time, but then we're straight back into the Gallagher Premiership and the Champions Cup, so hopefully he gets a bit of a rest, because I still don't think he's 100% from taking a head knock before. Now, that's not going to be straight, but once again, if it's not contested, I'm sure you're allowed to have it not straight. And I feel like that's one of those rules that none of the referees have actually policed this year. I don't know if it's only experimental for some competitions or if it's all of them. Sharks vs Stormers, please, says Lilia B. You deserve a holidays like now, says Blues Nate. Yeah, although we're still going to be doing some form of commentary while we're on holiday. I'm almost 60. Oh, it's almost 60. A few another try, please. A very tight, thin figure hugging pants makes one look very slim. For Stovies, I don't think that's like, because he was comparing it to the balls, like the little hard candy. So I'm not sure if that's the same situation. The Northern Hemisphere in tradition has taken 2 years. They will be strong come the Rugby World Cup 2027. Now ball is there, cutting him south. Cuts across to the right. Japan being told to release it. We're after the 80-minute mark, and there's the knock-on that will end the game. 59 points to 14. I'm getting called every time, Hamish. I think we're wrong. Says Jimbo. One moment, we'll go like this. So, yeah, it's kind of in the middle ground in terms of Japan's results so far, but they will be 1 from 4. England finally get the win in November, their first. So both of these sides, 1 from 4 for their internationals throughout November. Dubai Sevens, that is also going to be taking place next week. And we've got there, Jacques was try of the year in 2009. Thanks, Hamish. Another awesome performance there, Sally. Thank you very much. But yeah, now we get to wait and see when the World Rugby players are actually going to be announced. Once again, we check World Rugby on their YouTube channel as well as their social media. Nothing as of yet, but of course, once they do announce them, hopefully we will be able to get that video out so that you guys know exactly who got the awards. But nonetheless, I do thank you all very much for tuning in. If you did enjoy, of course, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. Next weekend, we've got plenty more rugby that will be taking place. I do thank you all very much for being here. I will see you all for the next one.